Tonight's dishes are inspired by Valentine's childhood. Comforting meals he loves to make at home, which are perfect for a delicious and quick midweek supper. Tasty Buck Rarebit with ham, hot beetroot soup, and a zingy green bean salad with herbs.
I'm going to start with the Buck Rarebit. Often I come home and I have a lot of cooking to do, ideas on my mind, and I just want to go at it, but sometimes I'm blank, and when I'm blank, my mind immediately drifts towards things of bread and cheese. So I'm going to start with a nice, fat chunk of butter. This is the kind of meal that I think kind of reminds me of my childhood and sitting with my family watching The Muppet Show or David Attenborough, that kind of thing. It's easy, but a good Buck Rarebit, well, it's a thick, cheesy sauce that doesn't melt, and even if you haven't finished it 10 minutes later, it's still there and it's soft and unctuous. The butter's melted. I want to put in a large heaped teaspoon of flour, and I want to cook that dry taste out. So I'm making a roux, something to hold all the beer and cheese that's going to go into it. Right, I want some good dark ale. Okay, so get the heat up a little bit so that bubbles away. And then this gives it a really lovely depth. Actually, one for the pot and one for cooking. I do like to have a glass of wine or a cider or a beer on the go when I'm doing my cooking. That's ready. The cheese is really important. You want a really pokey cheese, the one, really strong cheddar that makes you go. So a nice fat piece of super strong cheddar. Go for the extra mature or the extra mature. Right, so back on with the heat. Cheese can go in. It's a real ally, Buck Rarebit. It's the kind of thing you've been out in the wet woods, and kind of thing I'll end up making with my in my boxer shorts with my wet trousers on the radiator. This is the kind of quick supper I might have been given before that miserable drive back to boarding school. I think I just wanted to be at home, really. The first night I got there, my mole cuddly toy was thrown out of the window. And I was locked in my trunk, and they said, we're going to chuck the trunk out of the window as well. And they put the trunk on a chair and then pushed the trunk off the chair. And for that split second, I really thought I was going out of the window too. Anyway, it was just lots of things like that. But you get through it, don't you? Onwards. Okay, right. So now the kind of things that wake it up even more. I want a good old little bit of violence, some cayenne pepper. Don't overdo it. A good scratch of nutmeg, my favourite of spices. Make sure that, actually, I'm just going to make sure that all the cheese goes in there. It's been grated and it doesn't want to be left out. So ingredients have feelings. I don't want any sad bits of cheese that could be joining their friends. Okay. Now, the star players, a bit of English mustard and some good old Worcester sauce, so quite a belt of that. I like it quite punchy. A good old splat of mustard. Make it nice and thick. You don't want it too runny, so it slips off the toast, because then the toast won't be fun. So now I need the toast and some ham, and now the assembling bit. One layer should do, don't want to overdo it. Okay, and now for a cheesy stout sauce. Nice and thick. Okay, now that is ready. I think one last passing over of pepper. I think sometimes people can be a bit mean with things like this. I come from a family of top loaders, so heavy on the cheese on the top. Don't be stingy. We kind of more butter than toast, more hummus than pita bread is generally my kind of rule. And that just goes under the grill. You want it nice and brown, not just melty, but kind of browning and darkening and bubbling away. So that's on the go. So I've got to get a bit of a move on here. I want to have an egg on top, and not just any old egg. I like a really nice, rich duck egg. So Okay, another little chunk of butter to fry the egg. I love duck eggs because they're rich and kind of this, you know, you've got the cheese on toast and the duck head on top. It's a real, you know you've had dinner. Right, so I love eggs. My wife she drinks more tea than anyone I know, and she also eats more eggs than anyone I know, and I don't want to get the guess wrong, but at least, you know, well over a dozen by the end of the week. Okay, so my egg is sizzling. That's a good noise. Okay, calm down a little bit. Right, my egg is nearly ready. Now, oh yes, look at that. That's just how I want it. It hasn't slid off, it's all there. Oh, that does look very good. I get excited just looking at it. And then egg on the top. So a little salt on the egg yolk and on the white. And then one last little blast of black pepper. That smells absolutely delicious. That is my Buck Rarebit, but with ham as well. And next for my easy supper, I'm going to make a hot beetroot soup and some French beans vinaigrette with lots of herbs in. I'm going to do it with one of these. If you are making this at home and you're using a blender, don't blend it.
Their birthday's 1st of May, so it's kind of like an introduction into sort of spring. We're out